Hello, welcome back for another edition of County Board Wrap-Up. I'm Diana Sun from the Office of Communications. Once again, I'm joined here today by Mary Hynes, County Board Chair. Welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's always fun, Diana.
As usual, we're taking a half hour to talk about some of the actions that the County Board took at this month's meeting and what those actions mean for you and our community. This month, we'll be discussing redevelopment for Ballston Mall, potential changes to I66, year-round yard waste service, and the county budget. As always, Mary Hynes is here to help us understand it all, and it sure was a marathon meeting.
It was indeed. 3 days.
So first of all, I want to ask you about the very exciting news and development in Ballston. What is going on there?
There is, the mall. I remember when the mall was rebuilt in the 80s and we were all so incredibly excited about what happened.
I remember Parkington,
exactly.
Yes.
It was a very different shopping experience, and malls were really different then too. What we know now is that malls need to turn their face to the outside. People need to be able to see exactly what's inside them. And so Forest City, who controls most of the property at the mall, brought in a public-private proposal to transform the mall, to open it up to the world, taking down a piece of the mall, the part that's on the corner of Randolph where the furniture store used to be, and replacing it with a 22-story tower of residential, and then another small office building on top of Macy's. So it's a total new look for the mall, much more mixed use than we've had there in the past, but we believe it will reinvigorate, I guess it's the best word I would say, the whole heart of the shopping experience and the retail experience in this vibrant urban village.
It sounds like really more of an urban village concept mall, and because I guess when this mall was renovated the first time, it was really more of an interior,
absolutely,
like inward looking.
And that was really what everybody thought people wanted in the 80s. And now with the advent of the kind of shopping that they have downtown and some of the ways that Tyson's is redeveloping. Look at the Mosaic District out there on Gallows Road.
Yes, it has all these wonderful different types of spaces.
Exactly, and everything doesn't look the same, and there's much more variety on the street as you walk along, and an invitation really to come in, which the current mall just really doesn't have. The other thing that happens with this whole renovation is where the current food court is, down at the bottom.
Yes.
The roof comes off of that, and we create a set of terraces that go down to a space at the bottom where the Christmas tree could go, or performances could happen, or any number of community events could happen. The sides going up then open up, and that retail is open with a covered walkway. So we end up with a much more fun place to be, quite honestly. And all of the connectivity between the shopping and the mall, and the garage, gets fixed. Which if you've ever,
yes, it's a little
confusing. Oh, it's so confusing. And if you want to go up to the 8th floor and enjoy Kettler, which is going nowhere, you got to ride 2 different elevators and all that sort of stuff. So all of that gets fixed, both with elevators and escalators. And a new opening is created between the residential down at the eastern end and the shopping to create what is an L-shaped muse, which is a smaller, more intimate, kind of unique shopping experience that is meant to also kind of provide some small gathering places and outside cafes that are not right on the main street.
When I hear the word muse, I kind of feel like that's a Back to the Future type of concept. It's like going back to
exactly
these kind of very inviting smaller places.
Yeah, very European.
Yes.
Even some parts of Georgetown have that same feel of these smaller, intimate spaces with small shops on each side. So Forest City is very actively recruiting new retail, new to our market. Some places, some of their tenants I'm sure will be things we see in other places, but they're very committed to really changing the dynamic here to provide a very different kind of shopping experience than we've had in the past.
It's very exciting. I mean, it really sounds like it's going to be a destination and a great place to
That's
go.
our goal. The mall is not performing now, and it's really a drag on the economy in Ballston. everybody believes by repositioning the mall and bringing in these new retailers and opening it up to the street, that it's a total game change. And honestly, Diana, that's why we're considering this a public-private partnership, which is that the county is bringing money to the table.
So it's a real partnership.
It is a real partnership, and we've had just an incredible amount of amazing work done by our staff, both from the Department of Management and Finance and from Arlington Economic Development, understanding how to put this kind of a deal together. And I want people to understand that while we're putting in some money up front through the use of bonds, all of that payback is going to come off of the increased tax revenue that we have every reason to believe will come. And if it doesn't come, Forest City has put it on the line and said they'll cover the debt service. So these bonds that we're going to sell will not impede our ability to sell bonds for parks or schools or any of the other things that we've been. This is a business-focused, revenue-driven deal where Forest City, as our partner, is saying, you know what, if the revenue doesn't come the way we think it will, we've put our dollars on the line.
I mean, that's a tremendous commitment.
Absolutely, and very important. And we've looked at Mosaic, and we've looked at the water, or I think it's called the waterfront in DC.
Yes.
The other jurisdictions around the Commonwealth and in DC and DC itself are doing these kinds of deals to good advantage. Without this kind of investment, our economy won't grow. The tax revenue won't grow. And so we make this investment so it will grow. And quite honestly, that mall in the 80s was done with a public-private partnership too, because what the county put in was the building of the garage. So which we still own, and which you know, the Planning Commission had a great conversation in this whole mall discussion about the main changes are going to be most visible on Wilson Boulevard. But of course, it's a triangle site. So we have Randolph Street where some changes are anticipated, but of course the garage is at least half of the frontage on Randolph Street.
Yes,
and we all know it's not real pretty to look at, nor is it exciting. And certainly on the Glebe Road side, that's the same thing. And the vast majority of people who come to the mall are coming up Glebe Road from the south. So we directed staff to begin to think about how we can reinvest in that garage to contribute to this feeling of the exciting, vibrant place. It'll probably lag the redevelopment of the mall a bit, but we're committed to dealing with all three sides in a way that will, in fact, convey, hey, this is a place you want to be.
It just sounds so exciting. How does that fit into the vision for Ballston?
You know, the Ballston sector plan, go all the way back to the very early 80s when that plan was done, always envisioned retail as a key component of the success of that sector. So that's why they did that first investment in the mall. And I would say that the mall has continued, or the sector has continued to develop along that plan. And there's no thought that sector could be successful without strong, successful retail there. And we've added so many people in high-rise neighborhoods since the 80s that there's a natural base for all the kinds of businesses and restaurants who are likely to relocate here. So, and it's a wealthy base. I mean, these are folks who have disposable income, and we'd like them to spend it here in their own neighborhood.
And that's why the developer looks at it as a very wise investment.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Great, thank you. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, the County Board takes a stand on the Virginia Department of Transportation's much-debated plan to bring tolling to I66 inside the Beltway. And we'll ask Mary Hynes about that.
I think we just need to look at affordable housing being across the spectrum. I think in our business, in the real estate business, I often talk about it as workforce housing. So we need it at every strata.
Service workers or clerical folks, having those folks live close to their jobs is better for the employers. It cuts down on transportation time. So we think in that way it helps the economy as well.
These people that are school teachers and work with the fire department or police department or simply going to graduate school and have one income, they should be afforded the same opportunities to live in places like this.
Welcome back. we're chatting with County Board Chair Mary Hynes about some of the key actions that the board took at its November meeting. Mary, the County Board took a vote on a controversial issue, that is VDOT's proposal to change the way they're managing I-66 inside the Beltway. What did the board have to say about the proposal?
Well, you know, the proposal's been around for a while. The Secretary of Transportation wrote to us last December and said they wanted to take a look at tolling inside the Beltway, a project that would be totally controlled by the state. And their proposal was that the excess revenues from the tolls would come back for projects in Northern Virginia in a corridor that stretches from Lee Highway to Arlington Boulevard, from the Beltway to the river. And
when you say projects, what kind of projects?
Multimodal
see,
projects.
okay.
So this is very focused. There was a study done by the McDonald administration in 2012 and 2013 that looked at how to relieve congestion on I-66, and the conclusion that that study reached was that there was no one single thing you could do that would make it all better. That you have to work across all the modes: transit, driving, bicycles, pedestrians, in order to get some level of significant congestion relief. So what the McAuliffe folks did was take that study and say, okay, here's what we're going to do, here's our proposal. And initially they proposed tolling in both directions, and then they said, no, we're just going to toll in the peak direction. So that
whichever way is
yeah,
it,
so
yes.
east in the morning and west in the afternoon. And initially they said it would be, you could ride free if you had 3 or more people in your car, and they've now changed that to be 2 or more, as it currently is today, available only to people who have 2 or more. And as I said, the state's going to run the whole thing, and the money will come to the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. So each of the jurisdictions were asked to weigh in on this. Big kudos to our Transportation Commission, who have followed this all year, had multiple briefings with VDOT, and who brought us a recommendation saying that they supported this move with a few caveats, including, you know, widening's always been kind of lurking out there between the 66 entry and Ballston. And that's in the proposal, but we've put tried to put regionally some parameters around that so we don't widen first. We want these multimodal, these transit options to work, because if they work, maybe we don't need to spend $100 million to widen 2 miles of road. And so the board really took up a position that says we support this in concept. There needs to be a memorandum of agreement that locks it into place for 40 years between VDOT and the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission and the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and that the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, which is a body of local elected officials supported by staff, would be where the projects would be chosen in order to make sure that we're really making good choices, good multimodal choices that move more people, because quite honestly, that's the whole goal of the project. Move more people in fewer vehicles.
Well, it's great that these options are on the table rather than just simply focusing on the road itself.
Right, and just widening means a few more people can ride on lanes, but we don't really start to increase that multimodal, that incredible person throughput that the study showed was available to us if we did all of the things.
I'd like to move on to the year-round yard waste.
You know, Diana, just before we leave, I should note that
Yes.
that was a 3-2 vote.
Oh.
On the I-66, with Mr. Weistat and Mrs. Garvey voting against moving forward, partly because they felt we didn't have enough information. Honestly, we have as much information as we're going to have. The Commonwealth Transportation Board will vote in December on the proposal. So those of us who voted in the affirmative felt it was important for Arlington to have a seat at the table as this continues to be refined, and that our perspective on multimodalism is really important in the region.
And it's a regional effort.
It's a regional effort, and it's a regional compromise. There are many people who would just prefer to widen, who are saying, okay, let's try Arlington's way for a while and see how that goes.
Thank you for
Yeah.
pointing that out. And you also took an action on year-round yard waste. So we've always done yard waste, but more seasonally.
We've done it, we've had a twice-a-year pickup, you know, in the fall and the spring. And what we've heard from people, and we did some survey work, there are an awful lot of people who work on their gardens here all year long and who have yard waste, and it's the next biggest set of waste that we can move out of sort of the disposal and into the recycling stream, which has a lighter hand really on the environment.
Yes.
and other things. So we've been...
Because we can turn that into mulch, and it's
right.
a reuse, yes.
Yeah, and there are vendors who reuse it as well. So for about half the year, it'll feed our mulch and our wood chip efforts. And for the other half of the year, we have a vendor who will take it and make use of it for other people. It'll cost the homeowners a little bit more. People will have an option to get a third cart if they wish to, specifically for yard waste. They don't have to do that. But we won't take yard waste in plastic bags anymore. This will roll out in April.
April of 2016.
2016, right. And people will get a lot of messaging from the county in advance so that they understand what it is. And we're going to be working very closely with all the yard tending companies to make sure
Yes.
that they understand the new rules. But we think this will really move us along in our recycling goals and, as I said, be much kinder to the environment.
Another ecologically friendly move.
Exactly, exactly.
Another item that you all took up was an action that will affect anyone in Arlington who takes a taxi, and that is to set a public hearing on proposed rate increases. Why consider a rate change?
Well, you know, it's been 4 years since we raised the rates at all. The cost of living has definitely gone up in this area. And of course, gas is down, but other things are up, and our taxi drivers need to make a living. And so every 2 years, we kind of look at this issue of how are the fares that people are paying aligning with the costs that the drivers are experiencing and the companies who support the drivers. And this year, the manager, after a lot of examination of, you know, the economy, has recommended that we increase them a bit. So people can find the actual proposal online. It's a little bit complicated because there's puts and takes of various sorts. And we will hold a hearing in December, and we're really interested in hearing from the riding public what they think about this proposal.
So you want to hear from people, and this is their opportunity to
To
weigh
weigh
in.
in, that's right. And people can do it by sending us an email. They can come and testify at the hearing, but we'll make a decision one way or another in December.
Now, does this also apply to these other car services such as Uber and Lyft?
Nope, they're not regulated locally, they're regulated by the state. And so, you know, as many people know, they have dynamic pricing. When there's more demand, the price goes higher. All of that we have no say in. So
This is just the
this
regulated.
is just our regular taxi cab.
Thanks. When we come back, we'll ask Chair Hynes to talk to us about the board's wrap-up of the budget for fiscal year 2015 and the kickoff of the fiscal year 2017 budget process.
Water main breaks are unavoidable and unpredictable. Arlington has more than 500 miles of water mains, and more than 60% of them are 55 years or older. The oldest dates back to 1927. In the winter months, with extreme temperature fluctuations, breaks and leaks are common. We're always on the lookout for pipe breaks. The Water, Sewer, and Streets team monitors water pressure at various points in the system, and a drop in pressure can signal a problem. Even so, staff frequently learns about a break when residents call the 24-hour hotline to report low or no water pressure. Once crews find the leak, they work to stop the flow to the broken section. This may cause a temporary service disruption in the area. After isolating the broken section, the crew repairs or replaces it based on the break type and severity. In most cases, repairs are made within several hours to a day. However, repairs on major water mains could be complex and take longer. First, crew members close the upstream and downstream valves on a segment of main to stop the flow to a broken section. Next, the crew repairs the pipe or, if necessary, removes the cracked section. Finally, a new segment of pipe is positioned in place. Once connected, the main is returned to service. After ensuring the main has been repaired, the trench is backfilled and compacted. The street is resurfaced and ready for normal use. Crew members are prepared to work in all weather conditions and day or night to return water mains to service as soon as possible. We're working constantly to keep your water running, but remember, we need your help. Report all water emergencies and possible main breaks to Arlington County's 24-hour emergency hotline at 703-228-6555, and we'll take it from there.
And we're back with County Board Chair Mary Hynes. We're talking about some of the actions that the County Board took at its November board meeting. It was so packed with items that the board had to add an extra day to consider them all. One of the items was budgets, both past and future. Mary, one of the items that you all took up was the closeout of the FY15 budget. And what is a closeout?
Well, you know, every year at the end of the year, all the accounts get trued up. And there's often a little bit of money left because by law we can't overspend our budget. So we want to have between 1 and 2 or 3% each year that makes it through the whole process so that we have a little bit of a cushion.
Well, that's a conservative way to manage it.
That's a very
right?
conservative way to manage your money. Yep, exactly. And at the end of the year, then the manager comes to us with a recommendation about what to do with that 2 to 3%. It's money that you can't use for programs. It happens once. It's the end of the year. It's the leftover cash. And so it's really appropriate to use it for things like the Affordable Housing Investment Fund, or to buy land, to put in land acquisition, or to put it into maintenance of our facilities because we can use extra money there and achieve things that are good for the community.
So a one-time spend, not
Exactly.
an ongoing type of thing.
That's right.
And those items that you mentioned, the affordable housing and so forth, is that what you decided to?
That's pretty much what we decided to do. There are 2 other small places. We did take $1 million and put it into economic development, another thing
Which is
we've
very
been really
important,
working on.
yes.
So incentives that can be used to help businesses decide to come here or stay here. And we put about $500,000 into public safety staffing because we know we have some looming issues, and we hope this will be some bridge money to help the board manage in 17 some of these issues that are out there for public safety.
Well, speaking of 2017, you closed out 2015 and you began the process for 2017.
Right.
And what you gave the county manager some guidance as he develops the proposed budget. And
That's right. And we do that every year. Guidance is a way to, first of all, affirm your values. So our guidance talks about needing to fund the schools, needing to fund affordable housing, make sure our safety net stays intact, maintaining our AAA bond rating, all of those things.
So these are like
That's
key
like
priorities.
the base, you know,
Yes.
don't mess with this stuff. And then it goes on to identify areas that the board may be interested in, the manager exploring more. So we always ask the manager to look for efficiencies and duplication. This year the board identified potentially looking at health care benefits with an eye toward how is it going to work with Affordable Care Act, and are there changes and adjustments we should make in that area.
And when you mention healthcare, that is for employees?
For county
Okay.
employees. And one of the things, and again, I want people to understand this, is we wouldn't do this without a good conversation with our employees. And so we also directed the manager to begin a conversation on these issues with employees, because something like 70% of the cost of government is related to the people who work here. It's important to us to have great employees who are well paid. So we want to have that be a conversation. So there are a number of other issues that got raised. And what this does is just gives the manager, the whole document is the manager's platform to create his proposed budget that will come to the board in February.
And this is just the beginning, so there are many opportunities for people to give input and so
That's
forth.
right. The manager and the superintendent will have a meeting in December. They've done this for the last couple of years. The manager will also meet with all of the commission chairs to talk with them about the budget. And then it'll be presented in February. The board will have public hearings in March, and then it'll all get adopted in June. Sorry, not in June, in April. And let me say the school board is kind of going along doing the same thing. We have a set of revenue sharing principles between us that give a starting place for the superintendent to build his budget. And over the last several years, as we've moved through the budget process, we've worked with schools because of the growth to be sure that our allocations are fair and allow them to meet their challenges while also not degrading county services too much. So there's a presumption in this direction that we don't start with a tax increase, that we start with the rate we have, and then we'll see what happens.
And the schools is just such a huge
critical, important
yes.
piece of our community to get that right. It is part of the vitality of our community is these wonderful schools. So we want the money.
And a big part of our attraction
Exactly.
to people wanting to come here.
Exactly. You know, we really have had such a successful run with our schools, and the increase in the number of people, of households with families and children is really exciting. It has its challenges, though, too.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and explain to all of us some of the key actions that the county board took at this long marathon November meeting. And we will see you next month for your last
one, yeah.
county board meeting.
Yep, indeed.
And thank you all once again for joining us for the county board wrap-up. Remember, if you have any questions for the board chair, feel free to email them to us at arlingtontv@arlingtonva.us or tweet them with the hashtag #CountyBoardWrap. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next month.
Arlington has safe and beautiful trails for biking, running, and walking. As the days get longer, people of all ages spend more time outside, and this includes criminals too. Here are some safety tips if you are using the trails in our area. Wear light, reflective clothing. Try to go out with a friend. Try to use populated areas during the daylight hours. Make sure you bring a cell phone. Familiarize yourself with your trails and avoid areas you don't know. If you listen to music, make sure you leave one ear open. Tell someone where you will be going before you leave. And remember, never hesitate to call the police if you think you spot suspicious activity. Call 911 for emergencies, and for non-emergencies, call 703-558-2222. For more safety tips, go to arlingtonva.us/police.
Imagine a world where potholes could fill themselves, swings could yell out when they're broken, or walls could talk when they're vandalized. Well, now they can. With your help, introducing the new Arlington VA mobile app that lets you connect with the county in a whole new way. See an issue, then report it on the spot. It's the closest thing to issues reporting themselves. Here's how it works. Let's say you're at a park and you notice the playground equipment is broken, or maybe we missed your trash pickup, or there's a pothole on your street. No problem. Use the Arlington VA app on your smartphone to submit a request. Your GPS finds where you are, so you can just snap a picture if you like, or write a description, then submit your item. The information instantly goes to the right department. And if you've created an account, you can follow the progress, get email updates, and know when your issue is resolved. And this is just the beginning. We'll be updating the app with more items. Did we mention? The app also connects you with other county information, right from the home screen. But hey, don't have a smartphone? Don't worry. You can also report a problem from the Arlington website the same way. It's that easy. The new Arlington VA app, a smart app that makes a smarter county. Search Arlington VA in the Apple or Android store and download it now, or go to arlingtonva.us.